Hello everybody and welcome back to the Publishing Performance Show. I'm here today with Mitch Carson, who is a best-selling author. He's a TV host for NBC in Las Vegas, and he's also an international speaker. So thank you for joining the show, Mitch.
Great. Glad to be here, Teddy.
Well, let's give a quick bit. Let's start with your background. So in your website, you talk about being an expert in helping people to build their personal brands and social media exposure. So let's talk a bit about your background and how you got into that.
It started, I understand, well, social media is just a different platform today. And it's been around for a while, and I embrace it, certainly embrace LinkedIn, embrace YouTube, embrace Facebook, and now Instagram, and who knows what's going to happen with TikTok. We're sitting on our hands not knowing where that goes. The key is to do more than what your competition does, to be more exposed than your competition. I'll use a strategy I'll borrow from Italian racing. I got this from a James Bond movie years ago. Italian racers remove the rear view mirror. They're only looking at the road ahead of them. What do I have to do to stay number one? What's going on behind me is behind me. But keep your foot on the gas pedal, keep pushing forward, and you'll own the road, is essentially the meaning of behind this. Stay with your gas all the way down, pedal to the metal, and focus on what's behind you. Don't look at what's behind you, because if you are the number one person and you continue to market yourself, you continue to expose yourself, you continue to use multi-channels in your marketing and your personal brand, you're omnipresent. And omnipresence takes effort, takes a plan, it's a strategy. And I get this question a lot, Teddy. People say, okay, I've hired you as my publicist. I've now gone on television and multiple of the big name stations around the world. When do I stop publicizing? Never. When do you stop brushing your teeth? When you die. Before that, it's a continued practice. Why? Because if you want to own that number one spot and not have to install a rear view mirror, keep pushing forward. Make it part of your effort. And it's the number one athlete, the number one person in Hollywood. He or she works at their craft ongoing. They don't stop. It isn't a destination. It's an experience. It is an ongoing effort. So I think it's important to look at it that way. And when I embrace that mindset, I have always lived a good life. I have done well. You don't stop, because if you stop, you get rusty knees and you fall down. So you got push.
Yeah. And obviously your background is being in TV presenting as well. And that obviously is one of the pinnacles in many people's minds of the sort of publicity they want to be getting. So could you give us a bit of background into your journey into becoming a TV presenter?
Yes. Well, what happened was in the 90s, I worked and sold products, other people's products, on live television on a channel called Home Shopping Network here in the U.S. I believe you have equivalent channels like that, which you're selling different products over in the Europe. I know that they have it in different countries, and it was big. I had about 5 million viewers a day in households where there were people, largely women at that particular juncture, sitting at home who bought a lot of home products. This is pre-internet.
Yep.
The internet came into play after. Now we buy a lot of products through e-commerce. This was pre-e-commerce. This was television commerce. So when you would talk about any particular product, if I was talking about this headband, which would hold my glasses instead of it resting on my nose after I've had nose surgery, I would say, look, this takes the pressure of your glasses on the cast of your nose. It's very simple. It's using an elastic band. I would talk about it and say simple, easy, affordable, all the action words to get people to pull out their credit card and buy. It's about how do you surgically remove the credit card to the buying position, providing those numbers to to buy. And television was a great vehicle for that. It was a great place for me to learn how to sell very quickly, accountably, and without sales, there is no business. It's everything. People say, well, I work in accounting. Good. You'd have nothing to count unless the sale took place. So television was the platform of choice. Still today has the highest credibility. Podcasting is great. Putting a product or service on Facebook can be great. Amazon has a live component. So live selling is coming back around again via the internet. But the method is still the same. Features tell, benefits sell of a product or service. How do you save time? How do you make more money? How do you spend more time with your family? I'll bring up a current little example of that. We were about ready to start this interview, and you got a call from your daughter's school. You said, time out, Mitch. Takes priority. I get it. You're a family man and your kid. People are focused on their biggest wants principally right out of the gate. So it's save time, make money, look after family. And if you can address those concerns, regardless of the platform, you're connecting to people emotionally, in some cases spiritually, and you're targeting their values and what they're seeking.
That's great advice for authors, especially when they come to write their listings and things like that on Amazon, so they can make sure that people are really understanding the point of buying their book in the first place. But if we're thinking about the media, being media ready and trying to get yourself prepared to appear on things like podcasts or television. Obviously, you've done a lot of work on that, working with TV, and you've got your own podcast as well. So where should people start? What are the first steps that people should take to build that personal brand and get media ready?
Well, let's talk about why you accepted me. Why you accepted me as a guest on your show. You wouldn't have taken me. Well, I had a picture without wearing a cast here, but there's a story to that. We can, in most cases, I'm not like this, but I sent you a clear headshot. I sent a clear listing of all my social media links. I sent a bio. I sent testimonials. I sent everything for you to make a snap judgment. Hey, this is a credible guest. Before you do your research, everything is there on what is called a one sheet. It's a one sheet for somebody who is a guest. It is a one sheet for somebody who is a speaker. And it allows somebody in this very busy economy that we're in, which will only get busier, to make a snap judgment. Give them what they're looking for quickly without having to force them to work. Because someone that's organized, make sure your spelling is accurate, is correct, that the best you is presented. The best you is presented, because people have many choices. And you made a decision to say yes to have me based on what I presented to you. So the one sheet is a starting point. Number two, I have a list of logos of television shows where I've been interviewed. And I'm also a host myself, using NBC as my platform here in Las Vegas, Nevada. National Broadcast Company. So it's NBC. I have all these logos, furthering my credibility and positioning myself in your mind. Okay, this is a person I want to interview. It's more likely he's going to be a competent guest based on the proof assets. And if you click on any of those links, you'll find my interviews. And so all of these proof. Oh, he's on LinkedIn. Let me look at his LinkedIn profile. I have 16,000 connections. Okay, must be credible. We are taking away the risk. People buy what is called insurance, same in your country and any country, to transfer the risk of embarrassment, the risk of having a poor guest, the risk of wasting my time. And I've got all of these risk mitigators on my one sheet. You're going to say yes. You're going to send me an email. You're going to send me a WhatsApp. Hey, Mitch, let's talk. And we've done that. I also looked at you beforehand, think, oh, do I want to be on this? Because the same as a guest, you want to look at the host and determine whether this person's real. I know you've had stories. I had a story, Teddy, I must share with people. A podcast host interviewed me lying on his side with streetcars in the back. He was in India. On his side, no professional microphone, no headset, no nothing. He said, I'm a quality interviewer. I said, well, do you have a microphone? I said, I'm hearing the traffic outside your door and you're turned on your side and I'm only seeing half your face. And he said, well, look, I'm very good at what I do. Well, what he was after was picking my brain about media for his own clients there in India.
Oh, right. Okay.
And I thought, wow. So yeah, I didn't research his LinkedIn profile was fabricated. So you have to do your own checking. My point is, check it out, see who you're interviewing with, so you mitigate against wasting time.
Yeah. The one sheet, this is quite an interesting thing to talk about, because I've actually got yours in front of me, so we can talk about the different elements that went through. So, and especially for authors, let's think about the things they would want to include on there. So obviously you've got your name, you've got like a top line about you, talking about your job, and then your previous history, obviously your social media links and your website. But some really interesting bits you have on there, which I think other authors could learn from, is you've got ideas for episodes and also questions you're ready to answer. Now, when I looked at that made it super easy for me to read through it. This is as a podcast host. I looked through it and I said, great. So Mitch can talk about how to get booked on major media, which is what we're talking about in this episode today, or how you can become an international speaker. Now, if I know I want to speak about those topics in my episode, I've already found the person I want to speak to. So I think that one sheet is a really good bit of advice for people who want to get booked on these sorts of shows, because, I used it myself to book you.
Well, it's a snapshot representation. The accountant has a balance sheet when you look and, okay, what's the financial health of this company I'm looking at, or this person? What's the health of this potential guest? Does he or she have all the boxes ticked appropriately? It's a way for you to quickly verify that I am who I claim to be.
Yeah. Now, obviously, I'm a relatively small media person with the podcast, but if you're trying to appear on something that was a bit more substantial, so maybe you wanted to appear on a TV show, or maybe even like a radio show or something like that, is there anything different you would do to try and approach that pitch? And how do you even do that pitch in the first place?
Well, this was geared towards a podcast.
Yeah, of course. It was a podcast specific one that we looked at. Yeah.
This is so I would say message to market match, a key marketing lesson. And it's, if I wanted to target the media in China, as an example, my testimonials would be all Chinese people. It wouldn't be Trump supporters from America. Do you understand? I'm already creating a rub. I'm talking a little bit of politics more for humor's sake, but you get the point.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't show Africans from Uganda, boom, 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 trying to get into China. There's a mismatch. Keep it congruent. Keep your brand congruent. So I would slide out testimonials that I have, which I have international people in my testimonial proof component, with others that are related to the market. So message to market match is key, regardless of it being, if I'm here talking about basket weaving, that's a message to market mismatch for your audience. Teddy,
yeah.
You talk to authors, I talk to authors. So we need to talk about books. But books are only as good as their marketing.
Yeah.
They're only as good as their exposure. I mean, I think, I don't know who, it was Thomas Edison said, ideas and inventions are 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. So you've got to do the work in order to get your book sold. You've got to do the exposure in order to become the number one person in your category. Ideas are great. What do you implement? What have you done and accomplished that can be verified? Verification is key.
Yeah. And is that more important when you're trying to appear on, more major outlets, do you think, of getting that?
100%. When you're to get booked, even here in the Las Vegas market, it's much more scrutinizing in New York. or in London, if you want to get on the BBC as a guest, they have people who verify and check before they turn the camera on. You've got to get cleared first. I mean, I'll use something home to you. BBC is a very prestigious network, one of the most prestigious in the world. I mean, one of, let's say, the top 5 worldwide, the CNN being one and BBC being another. There's all, ABC, Fox, all the others. But BBC, I'll use, for example. Yeah. I've not been on BBC yet. I would love to. I'm going to make my effort to get, next time I go to the UK to speak, I want to get a BBC interview because I don't have one yet.
Yeah.
Why do I want the BBC? I've spoken in London at 2 different events at the O2 Arena. Big platform.
Massive arena, yeah.
Yeah, massive. 40,000 people. If I had a BBC interview of somebody from the BBC with the beautiful James Bond accent interviewing me, and I played it during my presentation before I sold something, what do you think it would do to my results? Do you think my conversions would be higher or lower if I showed my expertise on the platform matching the market in the UK? It would be more effective than if I showed me being interviewed by CNN, which I have multiple times in the Philippines. There is a franchise of CNN in Manila. I've been interviewed there 16 times. What's going to be more resonant with the British audience, BBC or CNN in the Philippines?
Yeah, that's obvious.
Yeah, well, exactly. So I think it's important for people to understand that. Much like I use a generic one page to get on your podcast, even though it's a smaller platform, it matters to you. You know your audience and what they're looking for. So I need to take that into mind. And for any of the listeners, if I could share this from my experience being in media for several decades, I don't even want to say how many. I don't want to say how old I am, but it matters. So tweak your testimonials, tweak your media to match the market.
Yep. So if you were trying to, say you did come over to London, you were trying to appear on BBC, you want to talk about your book as an author, what would be your approach? Where would you start with that?
Oh, gosh, this is a good question. I'm going to love answering this. And I have not been on the BBC yet. It's on my wish list, and I will make it happen at some point in my life. It just hasn't been my market, but I would love to have it for ego reasons, bragging rights. And I've always admired the BBC reporters. If I wanted to get on there, you got to go through, typically, I'm going to talk about American media and other media markets, but in the UK, I doubt if it's any different. You got to get screened. You must get screened through a booking agent or a booking professional, let's just say, that works under the producer. The producer is ultimately the decision maker, but the person who screens experts. So let's talk about you, Teddy.
Yep.
You've got how many best-selling books? Let me give you the suggested roadmap for you being a UK citizen who could absolutely leverage the BBC for your marketing. So you've got a genuine British accent. You're a British citizen. Wonderful. You've done all these podcasts. You've got X number of best-selling books. So we would package you up. You've been a guest on platforms. You're going to be a guest on my author speaker summit coming up in February. You've got all of these press elements. It's called proof. It's on your one sheet.
Yep.
As featured here, all these logos, and you got to have testimonials, because remember, the job of the booking agent is not to get you booked. They are there to, number one, emotion. People overlook this. How am I not going to get fired?
Yeah, true.
First is, how do I avoid getting fired?
Yeah.
Will Teddy embarrass me if I get him interviewed by host Judy or Bob in the, who's on the channel right now, whoever that interviewer, the field reporter is? How do I then not get that ugly look? And we know the look of the judgmental look down the nose of, what were you thinking, buddy? To, wow, Teddy was great. Good selection, Penelope. You picked the right guest to match the editorial calendar. because there is an editorial calendar. Obviously, during December, that's Christmas month or holidays month. Got to be politically correct. February, you have Valentine's Day, don't you? The same as, okay, same holiday. We celebrate here in the States. Anything love related? Are you a love expert? Does Teddy have a spin on how to create a great family life, a loving wife after she says, I do, so she doesn't say, I don't? And you may have a strategy to maintain a healthy, happy marriage. That would be worthy of coverage in February. They're always looking for angles matching an editorial calendar. Now, the holidays in your country differ somewhat than ours. We have a lot that are universal. Like the Christmas season is Christmas season. That's going to be in the UK, Germany, America, Australia, all the same. But you might have national holidays in your country. You just have to just do a Google search, or I'm sure ChatGPT, provide all the UK holidays based on for the year. It's going to spit out, here's what's January, here's what's February, March, all throughout the year. You then create what is a media hook angle around one of those holidays, and you either write a book, a report, or you have an article that you've written that was published in Entrepreneur Press or some other big publication where you are the visiting contributor expert. They're going to want to know about it. Now, there are evergreen topics and there are trending topics. For example, going back 2 months ago in November, the worldwide topic, if you had a spin on it, would have been the American election, because everything mattered before we had the election in America. Was it going to be Donald Trump or this Kamala Harris? So Donald Trump won. But anything related to that life-changing election mattered. Same in your country. Who's going to be the next PM? What are they going to vote? Are we going to exit or enter the European Union? Is our currency, are we going to embrace the euro, or do we stay with the pound sterling? All of these things matter. Those are trending topics that come and they go. They're up, they want quick coverage, and they go. Whereas if you talk about love, you could be invited back for next year. Every year in February, you might be, we had Teddy last year. He was great. Let's have him on again. Maybe he's got an updated book or article. He's known as the UK love expert for families, because it's more, Valentine's Day isn't just for your wife. It's the love of your daughter. It's the love of your kids. It's the love of your nephews, nieces. He wrote a book on this. The book automagically positions somebody as an expert.
Yeah.
It's most of the people I get on my show have been authors. Many have been best-selling authors, some have not. But I've been able to effectively position them and get them on different shows based on the media calendar. In America, we have something called Black History Month. Mm-hmm. Many of my clients, we have the term here called African American. I don't know if you call it British African or something or not. Not
really.
Relevant.
No,
you don't have that. Not everything is the same.
Yeah,
so we have African American term, which is the politically correct way to refer to a person with melanated skin. But we celebrate during the month of March. I think it is March. It's March. March, Black History Month. That's referring to Black Americans who've made significant historical effects while being in the U.S., or they have written a book and they have melanated skin. All of my Black clients, American Black people, got coverage very easily during that month. And then there was another month of Black Women's History Month. So again, repeated, could I get them on TV next year? Yes. All they have to do is write another book for me to get them booked and pass the scrutiny and the screening. of the booking agent is, okay, I've got Twanda Young here, who was on last year. She's written a new book on her category. Oh, yeah, she was great. Our viewers loved her. We got great reviews and feedback on her. She's in. Easy peasy. Whereas if I brought in a new person with no one sheet, nothing, hasn't written a book, oh, it's been her lifelong dream to get on TV. I'm not risking my job. Why would I risk my job on an unknown? Mitch, we love you. We know your guests are already media trained before the camera turns on. These are live segments. You cannot screw up. God forbid I screw up here, we can record. But on live TV, they must be media trained, vetted, trained, and training is the operative word. To answer in sound bites, be quick, be on point, because an interview on television is 2.5 minutes to 4 minutes. Typically. Expanded interviews are available for major celebrities. Like they're not going to say time's up to somebody running for the prime minister position in the UK. Yeah. But for Teddy Smith, who is an up and coming expert, your interview time is going to be 2.5 minutes to 4 minutes. Let's wrap it. So you got to be really on point.
Yeah.
Articles. If you've written articles for some of the online or offline publications, I know you have big newspapers in the UK. They still garner a lot of respect. They still garner great credibility. And if you have an article that you've written, or articles, plural, or you've been in magazine, you want to include that, because it's all about creating plumage that attracts people to all of your feathers.
Yeah.
Beautiful color plumage. Because if you are a peacock, how does the male peacock attract the female? By beautiful feathers. The male peacock is much prettier than the female. Just the opposite with our species, but with the peacock, it's the male. The female's kind of bland. But in order to attract her, he's got to look his best. Yeah. And the person with the most beautiful feathers gets the best looking, or gets the mate.
Yeah,
gets
absolutely.
The privilege.
Have you got any good case studies for people that or clients you've worked with, where you've got them some particularly good media coverage, where, you know, it was like directly the work you worked with them on that was,
oh, yes,
you were able to account for that?
Oh, absolutely. Got lots. And sometimes it works later. It's not always immediate. Sometimes the beauty of being on television, or having an article written in a magazine, which has a longer shelf life than a newspaper, but there are times, and books which you've written, which are evergreen, because sometimes people buy books that are older and say, you know, this really matches what I'm looking for. So a particular case, a year ago, a gal came in, and her book title was From Cell to CEO, C-E-L-L. She was a convict who had gone through the federal penitentiary and served 4 years for tax fraud. And she went to prison, got out, became a CEO, and now teaches other CEOs how to start their own businesses. She went through my program here in Las Vegas, got her on 4 television stations, 2 radio shows, and she used that as a leverageable asset to tap into the federal government of the U.S. for a grant that granted her $1 million to help recently released felons from prison start a business. She was a CEO of her own organization. She went from being an ex-con to now a flourishing CEO. She leveraged this media, and the awarding party in the federal government chose her because she had media where others did not. The credibility and proof. Best-selling author plus media equals success.
Yep.
Best-selling author, not just an author, which is great, but it's greater to be a best-selling author, plus television, plus radio, plus podcasts. You become the irrefutable person of choice. Versus most people don't take the time and energy to go the extra inch, to take the extra effort, to work another half hour in the gym where people are quitting and scratching and watching TV. Do what's necessary to win. Work a little bit harder. Rip off the rear view mirror. Keep pushing your foot to the gas on the accelerator. Keep pushing. So Don is one particular example. I have many like that. One lady, Jane Mukami, who's a Kenyan American woman who has got a very big business today with weight loss for African women, African and African American women. Born in Kenya, now lives in the U.S. She went through my media program a year and a half ago. She went through 4 stations here in Las Vegas. She lives in Atlanta, Georgia. She then leveraged that to get interviewed on CNBC. Atlanta's a much bigger market than Las Vegas. Las Vegas is prestigious, but Atlanta, in terms of eyeballs and exposure, is by far bigger, about 3 times larger, population-wise. And she used that leverage to get, now she's been on TV all over the world.
Yep.
It
That's amazing.
Starts the process. Get the snowball going. We talked about snow recently in the UK. You guys can make snowballs right now, but the snowball, metaphorically, starts small. You roll it down the hill, and it turns into a bigger snowball.
Yeah.
Then you can make a Santa.
I made an amazing snowman this weekend. It was really fun.
Okay.
Now, those 2 stories you're talking about were quite obviously inspirational, and those 2 authors, they've got quite a good backstory. You know, you've got a Kenyan person who I'm guessing has come from quite relative hardship to come to America, and that's quite an inspirational story. You've got a lady who went to jail and then afterwards has become a CEO, obviously a very inspirational story. Now, a lot of people listening to this might be thinking, okay, so they've got that backstory. That's an easy sell. If they're just starting out, are there more accessible ways to maybe start building that visibility and credibility? I'm obviously thinking about social media and podcasts, but are there any good ones that you've thought of?
Sure. I'm going to give myself a hard case study. Let's say somebody comes in, has no book, has no social media, nothing. Yep. They start with a clean slate, so to speak. How do you run a race? By taking one step at a time. How do you finish a 10K? By running 1K first, then getting 2K, 3K, all the way till where you can run a 10K. You've got to start somewhere. So I'll say the basics for an author, which is a lot of our market, our respective markets.
Yeah.
Once you get your book done, you're going to need a book landing page. You're going to need a kick-ass Amazon listing. If
by landing page, you mean kind of like a mini website or a full website?
Mini page on your book to sell your books outside of Amazon.
Yeah.
Let's say somebody finds you through LinkedIn. Why send half the money or most of the money to Amazon and then control the client? Get them to your own link to buy your book and vend your book. You can capture their email and market and sell more stuff to them. So you gotta. I would start with the getting the book done, and that's a whole nother topic. What you need inside the book, as you know, but there are ways to get them to contact you. LinkedIn is critical. YouTube is critical. Because if you're an author, in order to sell more books, you need to speak. You need to be interviewed on podcasts like this.
Yeah.
You need to be interviewed on multiple podcasts. And if you want to be on television or radio shows, you've got to have the ability to speak and articulate your message and compel people to buy, to give them the opportunity. Well, how do you do that? Oh, where do you go to learn more information? Without your links, okay, start small. Start with LinkedIn. Start with a book page. Those 2 matter. Oh, from there, where else would I go? Maybe Instagram, depending on where your market exists. If you're my age, okay, do I TikTok? No, I don't waste my time. I'm so tired of seeing girls shake their bodies on TikTok. I scratched, okay, it was cute a few times. That's not where I'm going to create commerce. I'm going to create commerce on LinkedIn, my number 1 platform. I'm going to create commerce. People see me on Instagram Reels, and I'm not shaking my butt. I'm talking about real value. I'm going to create content for YouTube, real value that people can take away and then want to resonate with me. And then I offer a book. Oh, here it is. So you start there. You can also write an article on a trending topic for a local newspaper. People overlook that. Still has great credibility, and then it's a leverageable asset to then get on television in your local market. Then you can go grand. Now, in the U.S., I live in Las Vegas. NBC, ABC, CW, Fox all have local television here. There's the national that, for example, that would cover national events like the election, the debates that took place. That comes out of New York. Good luck getting interviewed in New York right out of the gate. You got to ascend, got to have all the proof assets. Remember, the booking agent is there to save her job. She's got to make sure that she gets a paycheck next week. Condition number one. Number two, do you have the proof so when she walks your package, because you're about being packaged, your big plumage of feathers, are they verified? Can she legitimately walk your feathers into the producer and say, I've got Teddy Smith here. He's got a great software program that will, through AI, allow an author to get close to or get much more exposure than ever thought possible using Amazon ads. And he's got proof of all of these authors around the world. He'd be a good expert for us to have on the show because people are writing more and more books. Kindle is a platform. I'd recommend him, and I verified all of his links. We should have him. And I saw him being interviewed. He doesn't have 3 eyes. He's got 2. He's one of us. He's a Brit. Do you understand? That's what goes on behind the scenes. I hear these conversations. They're there to cover their boxes, to make sure that you're credible. And then they present you, and then you might get the call. But you've got to tick all the right boxes first.
Yeah, that is really great advice. So I think the main takeaways from here is, if you are thinking about trying to get more publicity, trying to get booked on podcasts or trying to get into TV shows or even newspapers or other things like that, it's get that one sheet sorted out, because that's what's really going to sell you to people. It gives booking agents and podcasters and anyone who's going to book you a really compelling reason why they should get you on the show. And it's about being consistent with your output, making sure you're talking about the same message, you're trying to get into as many places that are relevant as possible, and really trying to get yourself out there as much as possible. And
the testimonials match the market.
Testimonials, yeah, that's really important. And I'm guessing the testimonials should be from your most important people that you've spoken to. And I'll be asking you for one after this.
Yeah, but Teddy, it's not just celebrities, because that isn't necessarily what people can relate to. It could be a smaller person who's used your service that they can relate to. If I had a testimonial from Sir Richard Branson, which I don't, I shared the stage with him at the O2 Arena some years ago. I do have that, but who can relate to Sir Richard Branson? Very few people. He's not in my universe. He's not in yours. A billionaire, they have their own billionaires club.
Yeah.
But if I have Teddy Smith, entrepreneur, a British man with a growing software company, people can relate to that. You're a young guy. You got a family. You mentioned you have, your daughter in school. That's much more relatable than somebody of the stature of Sir Richard Branson.
Yeah.
So you can have that, but do it with caution.
Yeah.
Because if I showed only celebrities as my testimonials, I wouldn't be relatable.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. Well, I think this has been great. I mean, if people want to get in touch with you and, start working with you to get that media training, where's the best place they should do that?
www, you got to use the W's, getinterviewedguaranteed.com/meet with Mitch. I'm sure it'll be in the show notes, but let me repeat it. getinterviewedguaranteed.com/meet with Mitch. And there'll be some questions there to kind of clarify what you're looking for. And we'll set up a chat. We'll do a Zoom. And
what does that program look like? What can people expect to learn, and what can they expect to
what
we'll
do is find out if I'm a fit for you to help you with your publicity. This is how I make my income. So yes, there is a charge, total transparency. I don't do it for free. The interview is free with me, but if you want to get television placement, radio placement, I guarantee it. That's why I have the URL, Get Interviewed Guaranteed, on major networks. But we're going to have a discussion to see if you're ready for it, because not everybody's ready. If you've got no assets, no landing page, I'll say don't waste your money. It's for people who are serious, who may have a book. You don't have to, but it certainly will help you better use those very, very viable outlets to build your brand, build your income, and get a return on investment.
Brilliant. Well, it's been super helpful. I mean, I've learned loads from it, and I've really enjoyed speaking to you about getting booked onto some major networks. I think that's one of the things I need to work on. I want to get onto more big podcasts and stuff.
I want to see you on the BBC.
I want to come. I'll swap. I'll help you on BBC, and you can get me onto your Las Vegas show.
Easy. That's guaranteed. You know, I know all the producers here. Easy.
Perfect. Well, it's been great chatting to you, Mitch. And just before we go, we've got one final question, and that is, what's the one book you recommend that everyone should be reading?
I refer to a lot of classic. I mean, there are a lot of new books like Atomic Habits by James Clear, which I enjoyed reading. I mean, there are many that are current. I like to go to a classic by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there are different principles that are applied and useful today, even though the book was written 120 years ago. It's about what the millionaires were doing at the turn of the century, the 19th century, to build their business. What were those common thread characteristics? And the one I like to talk about is when you see an opportunity, Napoleon Hill identified this. When you see an opportunity, do you take it, dream about it, or let it pass you by? The successful people, and the characteristic is still the same today, got to risk with the right opportunity for a reward. Measured risk, but without taking a risk, you will stay in the sea of sameness as everyone else. What can you do to jump out? Is it starting a podcast? Is it getting your one sheet done so you can be a guest on podcasts so you can tap in the audience of Teddy? So the book, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, is a classic, which I refer to often in my presentations because it's about differentiation and taking a risk as one of the key principles. There are many, but that's the one I refer to.
Pretty good recommendation. It's one of the all-time classics. And when you mentioned James Clear, I just always think how much money he must make every single January when people make New Year's resolutions.
Oh gosh. He's done well. Smart guy.
He's a smart guy. Well, great. It's been thanks so much for coming on the show. It's been great chatting to you, Mitch, and we will speak again soon.
You got it. Thanks, Teddy.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Publishing Performance podcast. I really hope you found today's episode inspiring. I love chatting to authors, writers, and people in the publishing world. Now, just before we wrap up, let me tell you about Publishing Performance, the #1 platform for authors who want to increase Amazon book sales, but are not really sure where to start. Now, this show is all about helping you to sell more books. And if you're looking to boost your publishing game and to maximize your book's potential on Amazon, then Publishing Performance is designed to help authors just like you to grow your readership and to reach a much wider audience. Now, I know that Amazon ads can be slightly complicated, which is why Publishing Performance is like having a personalized ad account manager to create your ad campaigns, to choose your best keywords, and to make adjustments in real time. Now, if you're investing in ads, you really want to make sure that your investment is being used effectively, and Publishing Performance does just that. It aims to make your budget go further, improve your organic rank, and target keywords more effectively. Just go to publishingperformance.com to get started with Amazon ads for just $1. Thank you so much for tuning into the Publishing Performance podcast. I really hope you found today's episode inspiring. I love chatting to authors, writers, and people in the publishing world. Now, just before we wrap up, let me tell you about Publishing Performance, the #1 platform for authors who want to increase Amazon book sales, but are not really sure where to start. Now, this show is all about helping you to sell more books. And if you're looking to boost your publishing game and to maximize your book's potential on Amazon, then Publishing Performance is designed to help authors just like you to grow your readership and to reach a much wider audience. Now, I know that Amazon ads can be slightly complicated, which is why Publishing Performance is like having a personalized ad account manager to create your ad campaigns, to choose your best keywords, and to make adjustments in real time. Now, if you're investing in ads, you really want to make sure that your investment is being used effectively, and Publishing Performance does just that. It aims to make your budget go further, improve your organic rank, and target keywords more effectively. Just go to publishingperformance.com to get started with Amazon ads for just $1.